Okay, so the process all starts in here. So upstairs in the offices, we do all of the processing and the process checking of the jobs, and then they're batched and sent down to the sawing centres down here. So the jobs are picked, and on the screen it'll tell the operator what length of profile, what way up to put it, etc. And that goes onto this bed in here. And the first section does all of the routing out of all of the various different parts, whether it's drainage holes, whether it's hinge holes, whether it's handle holes, or trickle vents. All gets carried out on this first part of the journey. So once all of the drainage holes have been drilled, the last process is it to be cut to length. So once the profile has been cut, a barcode label gets attached to it. That enables us to track every piece of material once it's on the shop floor. It's got the customer details on it, has the window reference on it, and we also apply a coloured sticker to say which day it's going out and which batch that it was performed in. We're lucky at Design to have established staff like Carl, who has been here for 18 years, and he knows the sound of the machines, so that if the blade needs changing, it gets changed. So all of the offcuts from the saw go into these bins. These get recycled into thermal inserts, which we'll see a little bit further around the factory. Okay, so when the windows first come up, they come into the reinforcing department. So we scan each of the windows which come up on the screen behind you, and that can tell you whether they need to be reinforced with either steel or with thermal inserts that is made from the recycled profile that we've just made the offcuts from. On this machine here, we do what we call reverse butt welding, which is where we take two bits of profile, basically cut them in half, turn them over, and then weld them back together again. The process has a welding plate inside, 240 degrees, and the profile is forced against the hot plate for 30 seconds, and then it gets released, and then it's forced again under pressure for 30 seconds. And the finished results is a nice clean weld. Up this end is where we steel reinforce all of the doors. So place a piece of steel in, and then the steel is held in place by some little self-tapping screws. The screws are at 300 centres, and we know that because these are set at 300. So the steel is nice and firmly in place. And that'll add to the rigidity of the product once it's out in the marketplace being fitted. So once the products have been reinforced, all of the outer frames come into this section to be welded. So they're all clamped firmly into place. So previously we'll have welded what we call the H's, and then the H's then get welded into the main outer frame. So once it's clamped in place, down comes the hot plate, 240 degrees again, 30 seconds of it being under pressure clamped against that hot plate, and then after the 30 seconds it gets released and then the profiles are clamped together once again. Once that process has taken place, the welds are stronger than the profile itself. And then once it's released, you can see we have these warm edges that we then move on to the corner cleaners to take all those rough edges away. Once the outer frame is complete, it then gets put into the rack where it cools for a few minutes until we move on to the next stage. So we move on to the corner cleaning. So it's an automated process. Inside there's 10 different tools that come out and do different jobs. Again, operator safety, you can't get anywhere near. So knives come across the product to form the shadow grooves. Then we have a little dentist drill that will appear in a second. Okay, so this is one of our newest machines. It's a verti-quad welder. So it welds vertically and quad, which obviously means 4, so it welds 4 sides at the same time. Because it's the newer technology, it welds at a slightly higher temperature, so it's a high-speed welder as well. So these plates weld up, heat up to 280 degrees. And it's a 20-second burn off and a 20-second compression time. And thereafter 40 seconds, you have a perfectly welded sash. Just like the frames, obviously we have this weld that we need to remove. That's done on here. So it automatically reads the profile, sizes it, and then starts automatically on its own. All we have to do as an operator is just turn the profile around. Once the sashes are corner cleaned, they're stacked in their right order. And then we come round to where we do the gearing up, putting all the hardware, the handles, the locking systems onto the sashes. So the operator will scan the product. That shows on the screen then what colour the handle is, what size the lock is. So once the frames come through and they're done and the sashes come through, we come on to the hanging section. First job on this particular window is to fit a trickle vent. So they have pre-drilled holes so the operator knows exactly where to put the trickle vent. So once the trickle vent's fitted, then the sash gets fitted to the hinges. So we have a slot, an elongated slot. So he'll put it in the center of the elongated slot on both sides. Then check it to make sure that it's 100% in the right position. Using a measuring block. And then once we know it's in the correct position, we'll put the final screws in. They're the lock-in screws. This one hasn't got a trickle vent, so we just fit it straight onto the hinges. So the final process is the beading of the product. So the first job is to measure each and individual opening. And for this we use what we call the magic wand. Once he's taken all of his measurements, the wand is Bluetooth to the saw. And as you can see, the saw automatically sets itself to the size that he's just taken with the magic wand. So the final department, or the final job, is to QC the windows. So firstly we'll scan the product. Chad, our QCer, will visually check the screen to see who it's for, what sort of size it is, make sure he's got the right barcode label on the right product. And then he'll do a manual check to see that all of the screws have been installed. A visual check of the profile, the corner cleaning, the penning in. We'll then give it a quick clean over and wipe down just to see if there are any blemishes or marks in the parts that we will have worked on in the factory. So the piece that's covered by tape, obviously, you know, that should be okay, but it's just in the areas that we may have done anything to. Also ensures that when the frames go out to the customers, to our customers, they arrive to them in a nice clean condition. As a company we QC every single product, and then once Chad is happy with the quality, we'll bubble wrap the handles and the trickle vents to protect them whilst in transit. The finished stock goes into here, and then we work on a process of, you know, what's here and made today goes out tomorrow. All of these bays need to be full up at the end of the night for when the lorries come back, the load to go back out again for tomorrow.